Welcome back, and happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back in Corpo Giardino yoga practices. I wait, as usual, a couple of minutes before we begin. So, if you're watching live and if you're connecting live with me, or if you're watching the replay, you can share in the comment section below from where you're watching, because this community is growing and growing, and I'm curious to see from where you're watching and how you feel this morning. I am connecting from Switzerland, and I'm feeling pretty joyful this morning, which is great. After a super great meditation, I'm feeling very centered and joyful. And I don't know if you heard it yet and if you watched the stories yesterday, but the date for the first live Facebook challenge here in Corpo Giardino Yoga Practices, Slow Down to Unwind, so a challenge for passion-driven women to slow down and reclaim their time back, are out in 2 weeks, in a couple of weeks, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of September. We're going to meet in a private group in Facebook, where I'm going to share with you yoga tools, different yoga tools, live sessions, pre-recorded sessions, and journaling prompts during the day to take your time to slow down. So if you felt disconnected from your body and your emotions because you're always in your mind, the mind is very busy, and also the mind you see that no matter if you know that your well-being is important and it's important to slow down, you kind of can't slow down and you are in that space of over busyness. That challenge is for you, and I hope to see you there. I hope to see you on the mat so that we can practice together and so you can have immediate results only with day one basically, and with yoga tools that I'm going to share with you. So good morning, I see people joining in, and if you want to join the challenge, you can go in the Corpo Giardino Facebook page or Instagram. You can click the link in bio, or you can click the link that I left in the Facebook page right on top, and where you can sign in and receive the first email with a lot of juicy invitations for you to slow down. So, and if you have questions, I'm here for you. So we slowly begin. Today it's a talk. We're now going to practice, and the theme and the topic of the week that I want to observe and reflect together with you is the power of living a balanced life with yoga. And it's an interesting topic, and it's one of the main core of the work that I do in Corpo Giardino yoga practices, because I support passion-driven women in creating and sustaining balance in the long term. So creating is the first step, and then sustaining. How can we sustain a balanced lifestyle? And today, after the first part of introduction, I would say, I will facilitate an experience for you. It means that I will guide you through different yoga tools so that you can observe yourself, observe your life, if you're leading a balanced life, and what you need to do in order to adjust something. First of all, what does it mean, balance? And I will share with you what I found for the Oxford Dictionary and how Oxford Dictionary defines balance. Apart from, of course, an even distribution of weight, the second type of definition is a situation in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportion. So it's all about equality, it's all about correct proportions, it's all about equilibrium. And when we talk about a balanced life or lifestyle, we can ask ourselves, is there a universal recipe? Is there a universal law that we can apply to everybody, and as an outcome we can experience really a balanced lifestyle? Of course not, because we are all different. We are unique human beings with different bodies, with different emotions, with different upbringing and background, with different work situation and life situation and personal situation. So it's a very personal path to find balance in someone's life, right? And as we know, but sometimes we forget it, balance is always changing. If we think that balance is something fixed, that once we found a recipe for today, we can apply it also for tomorrow, well, we're going to be disappointed, because the essence of the life, the essence of the universe and the material world that we are living in, and then also the energetical world we're living in, is constant evolution, constant transformation. So if we live with a fixed mindset, like I found a recipe that works today, I will do this for the rest of my life, again, we're going to be disappointed. Finding balance is always finding that point where the elements are in correct proportion. And if you think about yourself in a balanced position in yoga, it's not completely still. Your body is constantly adjusting to the pose to stay and to remain in balance. And it happens the same. We can think about the same in our life, in our day-to-day life. And when we are out of balance, those moments are great. Even if sometimes we think they're not great, they're completely the opposite. Those moments are bliss, if you want to think about it. They are bliss, they are our master teachers, because in that moment of contraction in our life, there is lessons inside that moment. It's an opportunity for us to stop, to slow down, and to observe, okay, what's going on right now in my life? Why am I out of balance? And what can I do to adjust that? And today, as I said before, I want to facilitate an experience for you. I want to share tools with you and actually share interesting prompts and reflection so that you can observe your own life. Because as I said before, the experience of balance is completely unique. I can share you an experience, I can share with you yoga tools, and this is what I do daily with Corpo Giardino yoga practices. But at the end, you are the own teacher of your own life. As I tell always my student, I am not in your body. I don't know what you're feeling right now. You can tell me. I don't know what you're feeling right now. I don't know if you're feeling pain. I don't know if you're feeling discomfort. And in that moment, no matter what I'm saying in a yoga class, you have the lead of the class, you have the lead on your life. Take a decision to adjust a position and find something comfortable for you or not painful. And this happens in our day-to-day life. That's why yoga is so powerful, because it's really a metaphor. It's a constant metaphor. On the mat, we can learn yoga, we can learn tools that we can apply then outside our mat and in our day-to-day life. So if you have a pen and paper, you can grab a pen and paper and you can do it with this experience with me by writing, or of course you can do it in your own mind, and after, if it's possible, write it down. The first question that I would love to ask you, so that you can ask yourself, is, what is balance for me? What is balance for me? What is my definition of balance? As I said, Oxford Dictionary defines balance as a situation in which different elements are equal or in correct proportion. And if you can't find right now a definition, I invite you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in a balanced life. How do you feel? How do you feel when you are experiencing a balanced life? When the elements of your life, your relationships, your work, your personal life, your hobbies, whatever, your studies, whatever are the elements that of your life, are in equilibrium, are balanced. How do you feel? And imagine this has already happened. It's not something that you wish is going to happen. Imagine that this is what you're experiencing right now. How do you feel when your life is in balance? Is in balance, sorry. How do you feel? And what are you doing? What are you doing in this type of life? How does your life look like? With whom are you right now? Let the imagination be super wild. Let your imagination flow. How do you feel when you experience balance in your life? And of course, take your time, all the time you need. Enjoy this imagination exercise, and if it's possible, write it down. Even if it's not possible right now, take time to write it down after. And the second question is, after you found your own definition of balance through your imagination, so through your feelings and through your emotions, take a look at your life right now and ask yourself, am I out of balance? Are the elements of that are part of my life in a correct proportion or not? Take an honest look. There's no right or wrong. It's just how it is. And I said before, if we are out of balance in this moment in our life, it's a great opportunity because it's a bliss. It's an opportunity to readjust, observe, and readjust. When you're on your mat and you want to practice a position, or for example, a balanced position, and let's say you want to do a handstand or your headstand, or I don't know, a simple 3 pose, right? Very simple. And you fell on the side. That moment, it's a moment that is teaching us how to realign, readjust, and begin again, starting from the base of the body and going all the way up. It happens the same in our life. So again, yoga can be an incredible mirror and teacher for our day-to-day life and off the mat life. And after you have all of these information, the definition of balance for you, and if your life is out of balance in this moment right now, how can we learn through yoga how to listen to ourselves, listen to our needs, and eventually readjust? Why yoga is so powerful? I already had some examples, some very simple example in how we experience yoga, especially asana-based practice on the mat, that it's a metaphor to learn how to apply those tools in our day-to-day life. And yoga is very powerful because it allows us to get in contact with our inner compass. How you want to call it, inner compass, inner teacher, intuition, that part of ourselves that we forget we have because we are too busy waking up in the morning, go through our day and surviving at the end of the day. We're constantly surrounded by distractions, by inputs, by noise. We're constantly in a doing mood. But that's not all who we are. We are also that, of course. We need that pragmatic energy in our life, but we are also being that are able to listen and to feel ourselves. The inner compass, we know what we need all the time. And this is an incredible shift when we experience that, and we learn how to do that with yoga. Because from the way I grew up with the belief that I needed to wait an external validation for the decision of my life. I needed that somebody else would tell me what to do in my life and the decisions that I had to take in my life. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I slip in that limiting belief still, but now I know that I can see it. And this is a process of trusting myself, trusting that my inner teacher, my inner compass, my intuition are on my side. And they want the best for me, they want to nourish me, and they want to see me thriving. And those are the elements, those are the part of myself that will tell me if I'm out of balance or not. So, do you have a regular practice, yoga practice, for example, because we're here, that allows you to get in contact with your inner compass and your inner teacher? Do you allow yourself time, even if 5 minutes per day, when you ask yourself questions to your inner compass or inner teacher? And what we do here in Corpo Giardino yoga practices, with all our yoga offers, we encourage, it's just the practice per se, it's an encouragement to get in contact with that part of ourselves, our inner teacher, our inner compass. And also, what I found extremely beneficial in terms of having a balanced life and cooperating with nature is to follow the wisdom of nature. What does it mean, following the wisdom of nature? It means, again, cooperating with nature. It means cooperating, contributing to nature, and not going against it. Let me get a bit more clear. Sometimes I still believe that we live in a linear life, but in reality, our life is cyclical. And for me, for my experience, and for what I teach here in Corpo Giardino yoga practices, because again, I had results and I had incredible insights for what I could experience. Following the wisdom of nature means honoring that cycle. First of all, understanding that we live in a cyclical way. And second, that we can follow. And if we follow the phases of the cycle and we honor that instead of going against it, we can go with the flow. Our life unfolds itself. It doesn't mean that it's always easy. So, what do I mean by phases of cyclical living? It's all about, at the end, as you can imagine, as phases of birth, creation, evolution, so life, the peak of life, dissolution, dissipation, and pause. This happens always. This happens all the time. And the energy that we find in the birth phase, in the creation phase, is the same energy that we find in the waxing moon. It's the same energy when we find in the brainstorming of a new project. It's the same that we find in our follicular phase, in our menstrual cycle. It's the same energy that we find in the morning. And then the peak, evolution of life per se, the max expression of the life, is the same energy that we find during the full moon, the ovulation phase of our menstrual cycle, of when we are created a project and we are out in the world and share it. It's the same energy that we find during summer. It's the same energy that we find in the midday, in the middle of the day. The same dissipation, dissolution is the same energy of autumn, of our ovulation phase, of our the afternoon, when we are waiting feedback for a project, and at the end, pause and pause. So it's the last phase. Is the same energy of winter. Is the same energy of yin. is the same energy of the menstrual cycle, is the same energy of the evening and the night before we begin again. And what I do here in Corpo Giardino yoga practices is to offer yoga following this cycle, honoring this cycle for the type of yoga that I teach and what I teach during the day, for example, or I practice during the day, for the construction of a workshop or a class or an online retreat. I always follow this cycle. And I could see that it's incredibly powerful, because in that way, we're not going against it. We're not fighting against it, but we are honoring it. For example, what do I mean when I say fighting against a cycle? Is that if I am, for example, in the evening, so I'm in the resting phase, I'm in the pause phase, I'm in the yin part, the same energy of my menstruation, but I want to have the same energy that I have in midday, and I want to work and work and work and work, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I'm not going to sleep. Or if, for example, regarding a project, if I just finish a project and I'm waiting for feedbacks and I'm evaluating the end of the project and I'm following up with the project, and I don't wait enough to have a clear insight of how the project went, and I just want to begin immediately a new one, well, I'm going against that cycle. I'm not honoring that phase of pause, that phase of evaluation, that phase of deep reflection before beginning something new. And the pause, it's very scary in our day-to-day life. We're completely scared from the white space. We created a lot of distraction tools, tools to deal with our day-to-day life. I mean, our phone, it's such a way to copy in an unhealthy way with the white space, with the pause, with winter, with silence, with the unknown. And for me, so these two elements, accessing our inner compass with our inner teacher, understanding what we need, understanding what we need to do to adjust that out of balance situation, and following and honoring this cycle of living are the two main elements for me and for Corpo Giardino yoga practices, to not only to create balance, but also to sustain. Why is sustaining balance it's so important? Because let's say that I go and I participate to a yoga retreat. I'm burned out and I need time for myself, and so I apply to a yoga retreat. I spend 3 days there, 3 beautiful days where I can unfold, when I can unwind and relax. And I feel refreshed at the end. I feel very good and centered and energized. But then what happened when I come back home? What happened when I go back to the real world and I'm again in my family, in my relationships, with my work? If I don't have tools that I can apply daily and stick with that and follow that and honor that, I will be soon out of balance again. So sustaining also means to find what works for us, to have a regular practice that works for us, not that work for our teacher, but for us. Do it constantly and readjust constantly. And this is what I truly believe, and I could see immediate results in my teaching, and first in my life, in my day-to-day life. So this was the talk for today, all about balance. I know I gave you a lot of information, and I invite you to reflect on, and if you want to go a bit more deeper, tomorrow I will post the blog post, so you have also a written test to follow, also this path that we did, this exercise that we did, what is balance. Sala. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading a comment. Thank you, Sala. Yeah. Balance for me is balancing. Yes, and when I remember that, I'm balancing all times. Exactly. That point of balance, that it's different for everybody of us, for each of us, it's never fixed. It's never that fixed point in time and life. We need to constant readjusting. We need to constant. And Sala, she's living in Fuerteventura and she serves, so she knows exactly what balance is to be able to stay on the board and follow the wave. It's a constant adjustment of balance. If we are on a board like stick, like fixed and tight, like a piece of wood, it's not going to happen. So balancing is balancing. And thank you, Sala, for sharing this this insight and this your experience with us. And again, reflect on this, and for what I could see in my experience and my students, it's a constant evolution also what is balance for us. And this attitude and approach to reflecting and evaluating and adjusting, this is what will keep us balanced in the long term. Because life happens, we can't choose what we experience in life, but we know how we can react and approach it. So if you have questions, I'm here for you. And remind you that in a couple of weeks I will lead a Facebook challenge, Slow Down to Unwind, which is kind of connected to what I'm saying today. For passion-driven women, I mean, for women who are feeling lately exhausted and tired, always kind of a burnout and disconnected from the body, disconnected from the emotions, and with a foggy mind or with a very active mind. So when we are in that state of constant excitement and arousal, it's a great opportunity for you to slow down and unwind. And when we slow down and unwind, we can then get access to our inner compass, intuition, and inner teacher, and we can listen to ourselves and our needs. So I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. If there are no other comments or insights, I'm here. I will see you next week. Again, if you have questions, I'm always available for you. I'm here 100% committed to support you in a balanced life and to create a sustained balance in the long term. Have a beautiful rest of the day and the week, and see you soon.